control valve, compressor control valve, which this is it right here. This is the old one, and it lives right inside, right here on the bottom part of the compressor. And here's the wire connector for it. These style compressors don't have a clutch per se in the face. It has something that looks like a clutch, but it's internal. It's a plate that goes back and forth. This is always constantly turning. So is this, the shaft. So the compressor is always constantly turning or pumping, but it's this valve here that regulates between the low pressure and the high pressure. And here's your low pressure inlet and the high pressure output. Okay, low pressure vapor here, high pressure vapor here. Goes to the condenser, gets condensed, goes to the evaporator through the expansion valve, and then the whole process starts all over again. So, like I said, there's 4 bolts that holds this in place. And to get this guy out, first clean off the area right on top of here. Okay, as good as you can by using like this, a small pick like this, to like scrape around the edges, clean it up real good, because you don't want to get no dirt or anything back in there. That's why you see I put little paper down in the holes. I'm going to keep them there until I'm ready to install the compressor, and then even at that I'll leave them in until I'm ready to install the lines. Okay, so before I took this out of the compressor, I also bench tested it, meaning that I left this plugged into it, and up here at this connector here I checked for resistance. And at this temperature right now, it's like 70 something degrees, it's going to be about 10.5, or anywhere between 10 and 14, okay, depending on the temperature. And it's kind of hard to do this. Let's see. Yeah, because that's going to be too small. But hold on 1 second, and I'll come right back to you guys. Okay, so I went ahead and connected it back to the plug right there. That way I can get my meter alligator clips through the top part. But as you can see, it's registering 10.8 ohms in accordance with ambient temperature. So the warmer the temperature, the higher the resistance. Okay, so that has 10.9 ohms now, but when I also applied 12 volts through my power supply right here, you can see it's set for 12.1 volts, and when you connect it, it'll show you how much current it's pulling, and it was pulling over 1.05 amps rather. And here's the new part right here that my neighbor got from eBay, part number 109210. Once again, 2013 Kia Rio 1.6 4-door hatchback. And if you go on there, you're gonna have to put in the year, make and model for it to get the right one. As you can see, the new one looks just like the old one. Okay, and so when I measured this one here, it measured the same resistance at this temperature, within 0.1 ohms of each other, right? So I'm like, oh wait, they have the same resistance, but the difference is when you apply the power. When you apply the 12 volts, okay, from this power supply to it, this one didn't click, you can barely see it, but right in here, let's see if I can use a pencil. So right in that hole, okay, there's a spring-loaded like valve, piston valve, and right in this little hole too, you can see it. So when I put the 12 volts to it, it didn't do anything. I could see the spark on where I was touching with one of the other probes, but nothing. But when I did it to the new one, you could actually hear it clicking, and I could see the spring in that little hole right there compressing back and forth. So that just reassured me that yes, this in fact is the problem, even though by measuring, like I said, with resistance, you're going to get the same thing, but the coil, it's not, maybe not the coil, but it's maybe the valve itself that's jacked. That's either stuck in a closed position or stuck in the open position. So the symptom that I was getting on the gauges was that the high side was showing normal to below normal pressure, around 150. And that day it was like 80 something degrees outside. And then the low side was fluctuating between 75 and 80, depending on whether or not I pulled the wire or the cable, the connector that was coming from the engine computer to tell it to, you know, open and close the valve. When I disconnected it, the PSI would go up to 80, 82, and then as soon as I connected it, would come down to like 75. So that's another indication. And it was also noted on the diagnostic part, when you look up this part right here, the brand new part, at about halfway down the page, it tells you diagnosis, analysis. And it was exactly the symptom that I was having over here. So that's why I'm like, okay, you know what? This valve right here cost about, it was $25 on eBay. And the compressor was like 200 and something at AutoZone, not a sponsor. And all the other pot stores was like $250, $300. So I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do what is the cheapest, and see how it goes. And it should go okay. Also, I also drained the oil out of this compressor just to see what I was going to get. And as you can see, this is a bottle that I used for charging before, and I pre-marked it. Yeah, let me see, get better against the white. Okay. So you can see this is my 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce mark. And I drained barely 2/3 of an ounce of oil out of this compressor, which is also, in the long run, can cause an issue for the compressor. So I'm going to go ahead and add, before I install it, well, before I put the control valve back in here, I'm going to pour some oil back in there. I'm going to bring it up to 3 ounces, because according to the vehicle specs, I don't know if you can see that right there, it tells you how much oil, and it says between 110 and 130 cc's. And cc stands for cubic centimeters, all right, of PAG 46. And that's what I happen to have right here. Okay, PAG 46. Like I said, I'm going to pour it in this little guy, get my exact measurement, and then I'm going to pour this back in here, and then I'm going to install the valve. Also, before installing the valve, take a little bit of that oil, put it around the O-rings. It comes already with 3 new O-rings, and then it's a press fit. You just push it in, make sure that the connector is facing this way. See this little notch out right there? Yeah. Just make sure the connector is facing that way so that it can be plugged in. And then, like I said, I'm going to put the oil in there, move it around, make sure it's in there and good. Plus, when I took the valve out, right there, it was all wet, full of oil. And I think oil goes into that little hole, and that's what keeps the valve, supposed to keep the valve lubricated. But, and it's got a little filter screen right here also that goes right there. But anyway, so guys, what I'll do is I'll give you an update once I put this all together, get the car going again, and then charge it and show you the operation. And hopefully this will take care of the fix. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Hit the bell notification for more up and coming videos, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.